Welcome back to my channel. My name's Laura Bruno and I'm an intuitive astrologer. Today we're going to talk about how to prepare for the March 2023 energies. This video is going to be a little more accessible, I hope. I know that a lot of people don't speak the language of astrology. There are so many just major astrological transits happening in March 2023, but these affect everyone, including people that have no idea about astrology. So if you want the total nitty-gritty of why, like what's happening behind the scenes in terms of the language of astrology, I've got a super nerdy blog post, which I've linked below. But this video is meant to just try to give people a bit of a taste of what the energies are going to be so that you can best prepare for them. There's been quite a bit of fear around this time period because Pluto's moving into Aquarius, Saturn's moving into Pisces, Mars is changing signs, and if you don't know a lot, then that can seem like, oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming, what is happening? And if you know enough to be kind of dangerous with astrology, it's also really intimidating because Pluto is a kind of a heavy-duty transit. So this whole month is going to be filled with changes, but a lot of them could be positive. So I want to focus on both the things that you might want to be careful about, but also the things that can really help you to take advantage of these energies, some of which are really wonderful. So we begin March 2023, March 1st and 2nd, with Venus conjunct Jupiter in Aries. Anytime that Venus and Jupiter conjunct, I consider that kind of like, ooh, a yummy transit, right? There's like the goddess of love and then Uncle Jupiter, the great benefic, coming together. So that can be a really good time for self-esteem. That can be a wonderful time to do creative projects. It's oftentimes a good time for relationships and just in general expansion of things that make life lovelier. So that's the very beginning of March. That's a nice energy, right? Then on March 2nd, we've got Mercury moving into Pisces. Mercury doesn't necessarily love being in Pisces, but it's a fantastic time if you're a poet, if you write songs, if you're an artist, if you are somebody who needs to tap into creative inspiration, then this is wonderful to have Mercury in Pisces. So that energy also very lovely. This is a good few weeks here that we're coming up on for creative projects, lots of spiritual inspiration, great time to start a dream journal if you don't already keep one. That's actually a fantastic idea, especially with Saturn moving into Pisces, because that energy is about bringing our dreams into reality. So again, not necessarily a bad thing, right? We're getting energies that are helping you to take things that are more nebulous and bring them into more tangible form. So that's a lot of the energy in March, and really for the next few years. This is kind of the introduction to a time period where we're having dreams that are going to be more easily brought into reality. Then we've got a major full moon on March 7th. I'm going to have a separate video about this a little closer to the time, as well as a blog post, but just a heads up, that one is pretty explosive. It's a Virgo full moon, which normally we think of Virgo as being very meticulous, paying attention to the details, being very thorough, and that energy is there, but the actual Sabian symbol is about a volcanic eruption. We've certainly have had a lot of explosions happening around the US lately. We may see more of that. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little more of a metaphorical explosion, like a quantum leap. But just a heads up, March 7th, a very potent day. That's also the day that Saturn moves into Pisces, and that's a big deal. Saturn has been in Aquarius since December of 2020. So a big shift in energies. You may feel this even, again, if you know nothing about astrology, you may still feel it a stronger pull to ground your spiritual practice. Again, it's a great time to keep a dream journal. Any real spiritual practice or something that's connecting that kind of woo-woo and bringing it into more tangible form, we're going to have a lot of support for that. Throughout the month, we've got a lot of different Jupiter conjunctions. So I mentioned the Jupiter-Venus conjunction on March 11th to 12th. We're going to have Jupiter conjunct Chiron in Aries. That can go either way. Anytime that you have a Jupiter-Chiron conjunction, there's big potential for healing, which is wonderful, but Jupiter expands everything that it touches. And so if Jupiter is touching the wound, Chiron is the wound that doesn't really totally heal, but it's also the point from which we become the wounded healer. So anytime that you've got an expansion of the wound, it kind of depends on your level of consciousness. I'm already kind of hearing things from clients as we're approaching this conjunction because it's already close enough to kind of be in effect. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is unexpected grief coming up to the surface, things that they thought they had worked through many years ago, kind of cycling back around for yet another view, another chance to process and release. If you can lean into that energy, if you can accept that, yes, we're on a spiral journey and sometimes things return, right? Sometimes we process as much as we can to a certain extent. We move on with life and then we've gotten stronger. We have more perspective. We have other things that have come into the mix for us, and then we can afford to look at those wounds that maybe we hadn't fully processed because we either didn't have the energy or the perspective or just the stamina, right? Sometimes healing, it's hard. It's hard work. The nice thing about Jupiter conjuncting Chiron is that it has an uplifting effect. It helps us to feel more optimistic. It gives us courage and a sense that, hey, we can do this. We can make some of these important healing steps. So that's happening in kind of mid-March, March 11th to 12th. Then on March 16th, Venus enters Taurus. This is another really nice aspect. Venus rules Taurus. So with Venus moving into one of her signs, she rules Taurus and Libra, but we get an extra dose of love. We get an extra amount of energy to support our self-esteem, beautify our homes, beautify our bodies, cook some delicious food. So there's lots of that. I think of Taurus as kind of like Hobbit energy. So if you think of kind of the Shire and like the Shire is getting an extra blast of love with Venus moving into Taurus. Again, nice energy. So these things are happening. Then on March 19th, Mercury enters Aries. That's going to speed things up. Mercury in Pisces is very nebulous and dreamy. Mercury in Aries is going to be a little more chop chop. Let's go. Let's, move on. How does this affect me? Give me the facts. I need to be more forward thinking. So the inspirations that you receive when Mercury is in Pisces, you may find that when Mercury enters Aries, all of a sudden you're able to take action on that. You're able to move ahead with that. So again, not bad energies. I know a lot of people are nervous about March 2023, but we've got some kind of really uplifting, positive energies, especially in the early part of the month. I feel like this is a real blessing to get us in the right vibrational frame, the vibrational energy in order to be able to make the most of the more challenging transits, which are happening later in the month. So on March 20th, we've got the equinox, spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, fall equinox in the southern hemisphere. But either way, this is a hinge point. The light and the dark equalize momentarily, and that's always a hinge point of some sort. The very next day, we've got the first of 2 new moons in Aries. So this one is in the very first sign of the zodiac. So an extremely fresh start kind of energy. It occurs at 1:23 p.m. Eastern US time. So there's that 1, 2, 3. That's not going to affect you if you're not in that Eastern time zone. But to me, it's kind of like an extra dose of newness, an extra fresh dose of like, okay, we're moving forward, we're full speed ahead. Then 2 days later is the biggie. This is kind of like one of the major events of the decade, and that is Pluto moving into Aquarius. I have a totally separate video on this, and I know I'm going to end up making quite a few more of those videos of Pluto in Aquarius. On a personal note, my natal moon is at 1 degree 14 minutes Aquarius, so this one affects me in a pretty big way, and I've been tracking this for many years. So I feel like all of the kind of hoopla around Pluto entering Aquarius, some of it is for sure warranted, but some of it is also maybe a little bit of an overreaction or just coming at it from more of a fearful level. So again, I'm going to talk more about this, but in general, the best preparation that you can have for a Pluto transit is just to voluntarily release that which no longer serves. If you've got things in your life that have been kind of hanging around that you know, oh yeah, maybe not, maybe I should let this go, but I just can't, I'm so attached, but I know I really need to let it go, you're gonna have a whole lot of energy to do that, to just like get that fresh start. So this is a collective transit, but we're all going to feel it, some of us more personally than others. Then 2 days after that, Mars moves from Gemini into Cancer, and I have a video on that as well. So all three of these major transits I have separate videos on. I'll link those below. Saturn moving into Pisces, Pluto moving into Aquarius, and Mars moving into Cancer. The Mars into Cancer is going to take us from our heads into our hearts. We're going to kind of realize how we feel about things as opposed to just how we think about things. Any action that happens is going to come from more of an emotional place rather than just a theoretical mental place. That one is a little something to keep in mind because, again, we've got all these changes happening and they could leave people on edge. They might leave you on edge, but even if you're doing great, just be aware that there's a lot of new energy that may affect people around you, and maybe be a little extra nurturing, compassionate, and also, energy brush off, right? If I have a video on that too, on good energy hygiene, but there's going to be a lot more of an uptick of energies in later March. And if you are someone who feels what's going on around you, you're just going to want to be a little more present with your own energy maintenance. If you feel bogged down, just do something to brush off the energy. Also, being near a body of water, walking out in nature, all of those things can be very helpful. All right, so that takes us up to later March. The main other transit that we've got going on is just Jupiter conjunct Mercury in Aries. That happens on March 28th. This is a time of big words, big ideas, oftentimes like an expanded understanding. It could make people more tolerant. It could help us to have a sense of what's next. Okay, we had all these changes, now what's next? So again, if you want to completely nerd out on all of the nitty-gritty details of what's going on with the astrology portion, check out the article on my blog. I've got the chart. I look into a bunch of other things and kind of have a more comprehensive picture, but I know not everybody kind of understands that. And so I just wanted to put something out that would be accessible to the widest variety of people possible so that basically, let go of things that no longer serve, pay attention to big ideas that come to you, start keeping a dream journal, and allow yourself to feel optimistic about the future. I know there's a lot of challenges going on all around the world right now, but there are also a lot of opportunities. For as many clients as I have who are crying and grieving the old, those same people are often finding that new people are coming into their lives, new opportunities are presenting themselves. And if you can just realize that we're kind of at the end of an era and lean into the most positive future for yourself, allow yourself to thrive even if people around you are not, that can really make a difference. And you thriving is important because that lifts the entire collective's vibration. It opens pathways for other people who maybe can't imagine what's next, who can't imagine what comes after the old. And so don't be ashamed if you're doing well. Shine that light. Allow yourself to be out there because we need that energy. We need the uplifting energy to counteract some of the heavier, denser tragedies and grief that are hitting humanity right now. So you're an important part of this process, and I look forward to March 2023. We'll see what it brings, but that's all for now. Blessings. Bye.